Hello, 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 everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, the nutrition detective around these YouTube parts, and we are here with another episode today. Today, we're going to be mostly doing subscriber Q&A, so if you are a subscriber to the channel, you can drop questions in the live chat. I do, if people do super chats, I do get to first, and otherwise, I come all the way back to the top of the list. I start from the list. Now, one thing I wanted to go over first today was just a very interesting study that I found and that I was chatting with people about. Let me go. So, Joe, can you put this up on the screen? Oh, wait, I got to move this. Oh, got it. We're having small technical difficulties. Let me get this in here. Here we go. There it is. Okay. So what I wanted to go over, this paper. For those of you who don't know, I'm kind of like the expert in vitamin A toxicity and helping people to fix this. And one of the things men have gotten to know me for is my testosterone video and helping other men to raise their testosterone levels back towards what they are supposed to be. So I want you to pay close attention to this paper. Testosterone and progesterone level alterations in the adult rat. So when they're adults, right, after retinol or retinoic acid, those are vitamin A. Like those of you the people who rave about animal vitamin A, that's retinol, or the people who are putting retinol in face creams on their skin. And then we talk about retinoic acid. Well, retinoic acid is, when you think of tretinoin, when you think of, let's see, I'm going to post the link. Here we go. Now I've got it. When you think of tretinoin, that's retin-A. That's likely what they're talking about in here, because when they talk about retinoic acid by itself, that's all they're really talking about. But another form of retinoic acid is Accutane or isotretinoin. So they gave these two different types. They gave retinoic acid and they gave retinol separately. And they gave them to these rats in their neonatal, so that's newborn, or adolescent age. Gosh, when are they giving kids Accutane? In their teenage years, their adolescent years, right? So what happens with that? Do we have a testosterone problem in society today? Yes, this has been everywhere in the news and the research. Well, gosh, here I am saying and having a giant Twitter thread about the proven epidemic of vitamin A toxicity in the modern world. Let's see what vitamin A does. I want you to look at the newborn rats, single dose of vitamin A, or with 3 doses of retinoic acid. Okay. Retinol, vitamin A. Those of you who think cod liver oil is good for your kids, or dairy vitamin A, or eating liver, or whatever, retinol significantly decreased both hormone levels. However, retinoic acid decreased the progesterone level only. In the second part of the experiment, right, here we are. Adolescent rats were treated and measured similar to the newborns. In this case, retinol significantly diminished testosterone level without influencing the progesterone level. Retinoic acid decreased, I just saw the comment, retinoic acid decreased testosterone level and elevated progesterone level. Oh, interesting. Both forms of vitamin A decrease testosterone level. Wow. And it's vitamin A accumulates in your liver and your fatty tissues. It accumulates. If you take in any more than you can get rid of, you accumulate. It's just like a bank account, right? If you keep depositing to a bank account and you never take anything out, the bank account only grows, right? We'd love it if our bank account grew. That would be a good thing. But when you're talking about a toxin in your system, you don't want it to grow. But that's what it does. If you can't clear it, it grows. Okay? Oh, let's keywords here. The results demonstrate the long-lasting effects of retinoid treatments at a neonatal, newborn, or adolescent age. Huh. Oh, wait, the experiments call attention to such harmful influences of perinatal around the birth. Vitamin A treatments. What's the only vitamin they tell pregnant women to avoid? It's vitamin A. They also tell them to avoid another alcohol, like alcohol. Retinol, if you see there, retinol, OL is an alcohol. Alcohol is an alcohol. They both cause the same types of birth defects if you did not know. I've been over that before. Folate deficiency, retinol, alcohol, they all cause central spinal defects, birth defects. Oh, and glyphosate toxicity causes the exact same type of birth defects because glyphosate slows down vitamin A detox. Okay. Yeah. So that's that. When are we giving Accutane to teenagers? I mean, when are we giving Accutane to people? Mostly in their teenage years. When, before I knew better, I had a friend who asked me for her son about acne back before I knew any of this. What did I tell them? I said cod liver oil. Did it help the kid? It helped his acne for a little bit, but then he quit it and it came back worse. So then he tried it again. If you quit something, if you ever do something and you quit something and it comes back worse, you know that the thing you did made it worse. For those of you who don't understand, toxins have effects in the system. All of pharmaceutical industry is based on using toxins for their short-term effects, which can look positive on you, only to leave you worse off in the end. Nobody ever comes out of pharmaceutical medications better. If they take the pharmaceutical medication for a while and then they stop it, they're not better. Can Accutane shut down your acne problems for several years? Sure. It's stopping a natural process of your body detoxifying through the skin. You don't want to have acne, but you also don't want to stop your detox. We can help both. We're working on very interesting stuff. I have somebody who's testing out something with me. I have several people testing things right now, and the results on acne have been from this one other person have been very, very, very promising. So it's cool. So let me see. So Zendog Breath, you're saying YouTube warning just now. My comments may have violated community guidelines. They may stop comments or terminate my channel. Well, Zen, you better figure out what your comment was and don't violate the censors. They will be very angry with you. Don't want to anger the censors now because I don't know if you guys heard. One of my videos from 2 years ago has now been deemed violating community standards, and it was removed from the channel. 2 years ago. Oh, Joe, if you're sorry, Zen, if you're posting here, you have a channel. You automatically have a channel. Once you have a YouTube account, you have a channel. Once you have a Google account, you have a YouTube account. Once you have a YouTube account, you have a channel. So you may not know you have a channel, but you do. So yeah. So Glenn, I'll get to your super chat. I just wanted to check and see if I missed anything. I just want to say hello to everyone. So whoever's saying hello in the chat, hello to all of you. So let's go here. So let's go Glenn. Glenn's question. I'll take a Garrett Smith. Thank you for the super chat, Glenn. He says, I'll take a Garrett Smith rant about oxalate toxicity, please. The oxalate Facebook group is a disaster of bad advice. Well, where to begin? Do people have oxalate problems? Yes, I'm not going to deny this. Do I think it can be an issue? Yes. Did I show, wait, let me go find it, Joe. You don't need to switch to this yet, but let me go look. I have a thing on my research forum about, let me find it. Yeah, there we go. So, okay. So don't go to it yet, Joe. Oxalate is calcium oxalate. Notice that key other word that everybody likes to leave out, right? They like to just kind of just gloss over the calcium. Whenever you find stones of any type in the body, whether they're kidney stones or stones anywhere else, you almost always find calcium as part of the problem. So being that I like to think big picture, I like to look at why is, oxalates and calcium. Why is there a calcium problem in the body? Sure, we can bind all sorts of things to the calcium, but why is there a calcium problem? Well, we know this here. We have vitamin A toxicity, vitamin D supplements, calcium supplements, too much dairy. Dairy is a disaster of vitamin A, vitamin D, and calcium. Copper toxicity will cause calcification. We have all these problems. And funny thing, a lot of the oxalate people have noticed who work in, well, here was one of the things that I saw in the oxalate group. People from the oxalate group. What I've seen from people coming from oxalate-focused groups to my work, because a lot of people in the oxalate groups talk very highly of my work. I know that, and I appreciate that. But and this is more of a philosophical thing. The people in the oxalate groups kept finding that they took out all these oxalates and maybe they felt better. Okay. But then the problems seemed to creep back, and they found that their oxalate tolerance got less and less and less and less. This is not a good sign that an approach is working. Like if you are finding that your symptoms keep coming back, even though you are lowering and lowering and lowering and lowering your intake of it, that's a sign that it's doing the opposite. It's making you more sensitive to the problem. So a lot of people came over to the Love Your Liver program over at members.nutritiondetective.com and started doing the vitamin A detox. And they started noticing that they started getting better and they started developing more tolerance for oxalates in their food. Now, I'm not advocating to go out and eat a bunch of oxalates. I don't think that's a great idea. But as people who do the oxalate diet and the vitamin A diet know, when you try to combine those two, there's not much left to eat. And as I always tell people, starving is a sure way to get sick and die. So we don't want to starve, so you have to eat something. So let me see if I can find that. Joe, before you switch, just let me find this. So let me see. Oh, yeah. So this is just the, Joe, you could switch over to it now. So this is a study of levels of retinol and retinol esters in the plasma and urine of dogs with urolithiasis. So this is my post on my old research forum. Wait, sorry, wrong button. Oh, man. Sometimes when you hit those keyboard shortcuts and you don't hit the right one, right? Okay. So, where was it? So here, this is my summary of that paper. Okay. Dogs that had a history of forming stones, including calcium oxalate, uroliths of struvite, aka struvite, magnesium ammonium phosphate, urate, and cysteine stones. I've shown how vitamin A raises uric acid too before from Anthony Mawson's work. They had higher plasma retinol. They had higher urinary retinol, higher urinary retinol esters, the same retinol binding protein as normal dogs, and did not have a vitamin A deficiency. So because blood sucks at showing vitamin A, but if you can generally see that a certain group had higher blood levels of vitamin A than another group, and you're seeing more calcium oxalate stones, this is about the only research I could find on calcium oxalate stones and vitamin A. Now, dogs that were all carnivore, if dogs were eating only like a barf diet, like a bones and raw food, they would not have very much vitamin A in them at all if you weren't feeding them liver. And just so you know, guys, if people in the Love Your Liver network who have animals are finding that as they feed their animals less and less vitamin A, the animals are getting better and better and better. But dogs are supposed to eat liver. No. let me remind everybody, for any of you who are out on social media and arguing with people who say that these ancient cultures eat liver and animals eat liver and do all this stuff, I want you to understand why they choose to eat liver. Why do they choose to eat liver? Why is the liver eaten first? Okay, it's simply because, let me aim my camera a little different here. It is simply because underneath your right rib cage, people and animals don't have, if you think back a long ways, they don't have as great a knives as we have today. So they don't have, if you kill an animal, as soon as you kill that animal, every other animal that can smell what's going on is going to come to scavenge, right? A dead animal is much easier to get. Think of survival, right? You don't want to have to kill a big, live, dangerous animal if you don't have to. Right? So everybody's coming over to find out what you killed because they can all smell it. So you want to get your food and get out of there. You don't want to just be there while everybody's harassing you from the back, whether you're a human or whether you're a big predator. Right? The easiest large chunk of meat to get out of an animal is the liver. You only have to cut underneath the right rib cage. It's not a thick layer. It's just your abdominal wall is like, your abdominal wall of muscles like that thick, maybe. Okay. So you cut through the liver. You cut through the abdominal wall there, and you can take out basically this big old hunk of meat. And it's the softest meat in the body. So it's the easiest to eat when you don't have knives and forks. Comes out as one big old hunk. You only have to break off like, a couple of little ligaments and then the blood vessels. So they do it because it's the easiest thing to get out of there the fastest and to get their eat on as quickly as possible. That's why. And carnivore livers are the most toxic. Why? Because, well, what are carnivores eating first? The toxic liver of the animals they eat. They're just trading. You guys, you have to understand how hard it is. Some of us here don't understand how hard it is to get the muscles off a dead animal. Just imagine if you didn't have really sharp knives and you're using like the sharp edges of rocks and you're trying to clean an animal. That's going to take so much work. And if you're out in the wild, there's all sorts of things coming and peeking on you and trying to get in there when you're not there. And it's just, that's why the liver is eaten first. It's a survival thing. It's not because, it's so nutritionally rich. No. So anyway. There was this other one up here. No, I won't go into that one. Oh, but this is a fun one. Here, go back up to this, Joe. This was another paper. Actually, let me put the link to this paper in here just so we have it. That one's there. And then let's go up here. So we have retinol deficiency and urinary stone disease. Clinical evidence is missing. So they're saying there's no connection between vitamin A deficiency, which doesn't exist, and kidney stones. Here's an interesting thing. I used this in my vitamin A deficiency doesn't exist video. It was found that 68% of subjects in lower socioeconomic group had serum retinol levels between 10 and 19 microgram percent. That's basically, I believe that's micrograms per deciliter. For those of you who are doing the American units, this is like the same units that we use. And 4% of them were below 10 microgram percents. But none of them showed any symptoms of retinol deficiency. Wait. Did they just say that vitamin A deficiency doesn't exist? Isn't that what they just said? They've got 68% of the people in this lower socioeconomic status had technically vitamin A deficiency. Vitamin A deficiency in most research is going to start at 20. So they're deficient. No symptoms of retinol deficiency. 68% of them were deficient, but did not have symptoms of deficiency. And then 4% were really, really deficient, but did not show any symptoms of deficiency. You have been lied to. We have all been lied to about vitamin A being a vitamin. It's not a vitamin. And it says it in the research. When they actually look at real people, where does vitamin A deficiency studies come from? When they feed people garbage diets that are deficient in zinc, deficient in taurine, and they give them dairy protein like casein that has vitamin A stuck in it, and they're giving them yellow casein. They say it's vitamin A free. It's not vitamin A free. That's why it's yellow. So anyway. Well, we know vitamin A deficiency doesn't cause kidney stones. So then could it help if we see in dogs that more vitamin A was associated with more kidney stones? But this is about all the research I have on kidney stones and that. So in terms of oxalate stuff. And the other thing the oxalate groups do is they push B6 a lot. Oh, B6. Let me find the website for that. Let me see if I remember it off the top of my head. I think I remembered it. Understanding B6 Toxicity. Here's this. Joe, if you want to show this one, that's cool. This is a whole group of people who are figuring out that they poison themselves with B6. B6 is an alcohol. Pyridoxine is an alcohol. Go look it up. Well, I had some people who were coming in the comments once, and they were saying B6 is not an alcohol. Here we go. Vitamin B6. The health professional fact sheet. I could read it right here. I could click on the link. It is the generic name for 6 compounds, vitamers with vitamin B6 activity. Pyridoxine, an alcohol. Pyridoxal, an aldehyde. And pyridoxamine, which contains an amino group. And their respective 5-phosphate esters. Okay? So, are we still really sitting here believing that alcohols and aldehydes are vitamins? Did you know that B6 accumulates in your nerves? B6 can cause its own neuropathy. Gosh, imagine the thing we talk about here where people's ALDH, their aldehyde dehydrogenase, which is your enzyme that detoxes aldehydes, is not functioning as well as it should. You could build up aldehydes like pyridoxaldehyde in your nerves, and then you can't clear it. So because our whole program is focused around the detox systems, and especially aldehyde dehydrogenase, which is like the big project we're working on right now, there's something new in the works that's going to be very, very exciting. Well, it is very, very exciting. And it's going to speed up aldehyde dehydrogenase. So that's B6 is one big thing. And then them don't they take calcium with meals to try to bind up the oxalate? Oh my God. I mean, how else could you create calcium oxalate stones? Wait, they're okay with vitamin A, right? They take calcium, or is it calcium? Are we talking about the iron overload people? Do the calcium oxalate people take calcium? I don't remember. I never got into that. I want to help them. All I can tell people is that if your diet is causing you to there are those of you out there who are in the vitamin A toxicity group who came to me and this work. You were like backed into a corner, like you could hardly eat anything. I have people come in who can eat like 2 foods, or maybe they can only eat 1, and that's red meat. And we can help them. They just need to start doing. Yeah, okay, Glenn's saying, yes, they suggest calcium with meals. So how else could we create an excessive calcium problem? Eat a lot of calcium. Don't avoid vitamin A. Take B6. And if you don't know, aldehydes will tend to use up your ALDH, if you want to think of it as using it up, and then you will have less. So you can't process aldehydes, whether it's retinaldehyde, which is vitamin A, or formaldehyde, or isn't there an oxalate aldehyde? Isn't there? Anyway. So Glenn was just adding, they pushed B complex too. They have acknowledged vitamin A toxicity could be a problem, but they push liver and multivitamins. Yeah, Will, choosing to eat very restricted is very different than being backed into a corner, right? So, but yeah, B complex. I was talking to somebody who I know personally, and they were like, they wanted some help, and the first thing they show me is they're like, I'm on a B complex. I'm like, oh, B complexes are garbage. If you like taking coal tar derived vitamins, go ahead. But yeah, the calcium with every meal is going to end badly. So that's what I got on that. So let me go see. Let me go up here. So thank you all for the super chats. Let's see. Matej, I hope I pronounced that decently, Matej V says, hi everyone, and hi Dr. Smith. What do you recommend more for filtering water? Is carbon filter okay? Any reasons as to why you prefer one over the other? Any reasons why are appreciated? Thank you. Well, I've been over this before, but I'll go over it again. I like either distilled water. I like the purest water you can get. I want it to be as clean as possible, because everything we're exposed to has more garbage in it. So it's kind of like we can't trust anything to be clean anymore. This is just being safe. This is just realizing how many different ways they're trying to poison us, and going, well, it'd be better to, since everything's trying to come in as a poison, it'd be better to avoid as much of it as possible. Like, think about it. We're trying to drink water for water's sake. We're not trying to drink water as a mineral supplement. And we definitely aren't trying to drink water like by adding trace mineral supplements that have 72 or 84 minerals, when we only need, like, the only minerals I look at that in terms of I concern myself with people getting more of them or fixing deficiencies, it's like 7 things. What do we got? Sodium, potassium, magnesium, zinc, selenium, molybdenum. Like, that's what I focus on replenishing in people, and that's where we're getting these results from. So everybody who is like, you need to add 84 minerals to your water, I'm like, keep having fun poisoning yourself? Like, really? Like, anything that says trace minerals or it has 72 minerals in it is poison. It's garbage. Most of the time it's got rust in it. That's why those things are pink or red. You don't want to eat rust. So the two things I like is I like either distilled water or reverse osmosis. I want it to be clean. And then whatever you do with it after that, hopefully you're putting stuff that's good in the water and you're getting good foods so you can get the minerals that you can get from good foods. Get your minerals from the food, get your water from the water, right? You want clean food, you want clean water. It's pretty basic. So the one reverse osmosis system I do like, because they specifically state, some people don't like RO, reverse osmosis. Well, and the thing to remember, actually, I posted a tweet about this the other day, is that the World Health Organization does not like reverse osmosis. So I go, okay, cool. I'm interested in it now. I want to use it. So AquaTru, let me pull up the website so you can see it. AquaTru specifically, okay, it's aquatruwater.com. I do not have any financial association with this company. AquaTru's specifically, they kind of brag that their system does not lower the pH of the water. A lot of RO systems and even distillers, the water can get a little more acidic. I have to learn more about, in terms of how, what I feel like is, okay, so when you add minerals are the big things that drive pH. That's really the biggest drivers of pH in my opinion. Like calcium is super alkaline, which is funny because people want to be more alkaline, and then they you could just take tons of calcium and just become more alkaline. But anyway, I just don't think that the people will say, what about alkaline water? I think it ruins your stomach over time because your stomach's supposed to be acidic. The first thing the alkaline water hits is your stomach. I don't want acidic water. I don't want alkaline water. I want it to be fairly close to neutral. And AquaTru talks about how they don't make the water more acidic. That is why I like this system. This is what I use in my house. I have an older version of the one that's on their front page. So the countertop version. Yeah. So this one, I have an older version of this one. Doesn't have a picture on it, but I think they make under the counter ones now. If you want to do that, I just got the countertop one. Yeah, you do have to fill it up. It's well, the ones on your counter would be in line with your system. The ones on top of your counter, you got to fill them up. Either take the little bucket over to the sink, or use the extendo thing from your sink to fill it up. And you do have to dump out the water, the water that's left, because reverse osmosis always has leftover water that it's cycling the things it filters out into. So, but the AquaTru wastes the least water. That's another reason to use it. AquaTru wastes the least water in their RO system. They, I think it was, you would put a gallon in it, and you get 3/4 of a gallon of purified water out. Charcoal filters, if that's all you could do as a charcoal filter, that's better than nothing. But when you taste like distilled water versus RO water versus a charcoal filter, you'll be like, the RO water and the distilled water taste better. I have a really hard time, and other people have said this here too, I have a really hard time believing that when distilled water and RO water taste as good as they do to me, that makes them bad. Like, it's just water, and it tastes really good when it's just water. I love the whole thing of where when you see Dasani and Purifina or whatever, Aquafina, and they're like, we add minerals for taste. That's like Coke and Pepsi telling you they're adding minerals to your water for taste. Do you trust them? Anyway, I'm drinking my RO water right here out of glass, I just saw this video. Somebody sent it to me. Well, Kelsey sent it to me about Starbucks and how after 15 minutes of a hot liquid in one of the Starbucks cups or something it was, there was 25,000 units of microplastic in that coffee. Yeah. No, they're not trying to poison us. No, they'd never do that. So Matej, that's my answer. So if you can find a good RO system that doesn't, the benefits of the AquaTru, it wastes the least water, it doesn't change the pH. That's why I like it. So if you want to get it, that's great. If you can find another system that does similar, that's great. Do you need to RO your whole house? That's a tough call, because as one person brought up, if you RO your whole house, that'd be nice. The thought of it's great, but the reality is, if you run it through copper water pipes again, the emptier the water is, like the cleaner the water is, the emptier the water is, the more it's going to pull off the copper pipes. So we tend to, if you can only, and for those of us expense wise, the AquaTru at your drinking water place, and then let me show you the Aqua Youth. This is the filter, the Aqua Youth filter that we found that actually states that it removes. This was actually tested. Most water filters out there for showers don't. They say that they remove stuff, but they don't ever test it. So this, at least 33% of the water, 33% of the copper is out of the water, taking out the mercury, iron, lead, chlorine. So this is the best one we found. So if you can do your shower with something like this, and you can do an RO system at your sink, you're pretty good. Okay. So that's what I got. This is just this is a charcoal filter too, but I can't say I know what the differences are between different charcoal filters other than this company actually published their testing, which I respect. Okay. So, okay. So Matej says, I'm watching all the live streams from old and new. I'm currently at number 18. We'll let you know if there are more live streams missing. I messaged you about the episode that went down as I was watching. LOL. So yeah, Matej was watching an episode as it was taken down. Like he was watching it, and then that does. Gosh, if that doesn't seem like Gestapo stuff, right? You're like watching a video and then it's down. Oh, for those of you who don't know, in the info below, we are on Rumble, we are on Odyssey, we are on Spotify, we are on iTunes. So for those of you who are worried that we were just going to disappear from the map, we're not only here on YouTube. We are multiple other places. All the inner circles are definitely saved, and the other things if they scrub me from the internet all at once everywhere, then yeah, I'm sure they're probably gonna, I went off on a jog and I decided to unalive myself. Yeah, that who knows? Left my keys and wallet at home. One of those stories. Or like, I don't know if you guys heard this, but the gentleman in Maine who did very bad things, I heard somebody say that he pulled twice on his own head. Twice on his own head. That's the thing they're not mentioning when they say he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. They don't mention that there was two of them. That's very interesting, right? How do you get a guy not to talk? Make sure he can't talk. So I want to go confirm that. I need to go find that. But yeah, that's the story I heard, was that there were two in there. Two big holes. Pretty hard to make a second one after the first one, I would think. So hold on one sec. Okay. Yeah, so we're not streaming on Rumble yet, but all these episodes get automatically uploaded to Rumble as well. So just Nutrition Detective, any place that you're going to search, just look up Nutrition Detective and you should be able to find me. Okay, so Eve asks, is there a way to thin bile? That's Eve. That's a good. Oh wait, I missed the 999. Okay, I'm going to get to that other super chat. I saw this question earlier. I wanted to get to it. Is there a way to thin bile? I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing. I don't. I know other like naturopathic doctors and everybody's just like, well, you need to thin the bile. You don't want thick bile. And I'm like, I want the bile out. I don't know that thinning it is necessarily like that's where people are. They've come up with these concepts and these theories, and they're trying to force the body to do something. Why would the bile be thick? Because it's really toxic. So how can we make the bile thinner? Make it less toxic, right? Everything comes down to the first thing we do for everybody is we stop putting the poisons in. Because if you have really thick bile and you can't get rid of it, and it's because it's toxic, but you can't get rid of the bile very well, what can you do? What do we have control over? What we put in. That is what you have control over. When you are really toxic, your whole detox pathway is slowed down. It doesn't work very well. So what do we need to do? We need to put less toxins in, because that's the one thing we have control over. For those of you who are willing to do, things like coffee enemas, those can help get some bile out. They can also be habit forming. Not everybody wants to do that, goose themselves like that. So you don't have to, but some people do. So, Glenn, I hope that was a good summary of the oxalate stuff. I mean, I think it's an issue. Do I think it bothers people? Yes. But what I see people with the oxalate thing, they just it becomes, okay, so there's people out there doing the delusional parasitosis thing that we talked about in the ivermectin episode. And I think there's people out there blaming everything on like these oxalate dumps. First of all, I'd say, where's the oxalate dump coming from? Is it a bile dump? Actually, let me go search. Let me go see. Let me go look and see if... Let's see if the oxalates are dumped through the bile. I'm not going to spend much time on this one, but this one is interesting. Conjugated bile acid replacement therapy. So they're giving people bile, which I tell people is taking bile, ox bile, tudka, udka, whatever, is a Band-Aid crutch. It's not fixing a dang thing. It's somehow changing the bile recipe, but it's not fixing anything. That's probably keeping you stuck. It may help you feel better, but it's not helping your detox. Adding more bile doesn't help a bile problem. And if you are sick, you have a bile problem. So conjugated bile acid replacement therapy reduces urinary oxalate excretion in short bowel syndrome. Well, I don't think you would want to reduce your bile excretion if you could get rid of it. So I don't see any connection to bile. This is probably the same study. Yep. Well, let's go look at this one. Effective bile salts and fatty acids on the colonic absorption of oxalate. Hmm. 5 millimolar deoxycholate. That's a secondary bile acid. Those are the worst ones. Significantly increased oxalate absorption. Significantly increased oxalate absorption. So what are we working on here? We're working on toxic bile and getting rid of bile. Whereas people doing things like taking bile acids, ox bile, tudka, whatever. This doesn't mean that necessarily every single bile acid does this. Well, yeah, in contrast, taurocolate did not increase oxalate absorption, but it didn't reduce it. Ricinoleic acid significantly increased the absorption. Oh boy, did we just prove my theory on okay. On castor oil. Here is my theory on castor oil. Ricinoleic acid is really only found in castor oil. And the body binds ricinoleic acid and other fatty acids, other free fatty acids, to toxins, fat-soluble toxins like vitamin A, vitamin E, and sticks them in the liver. What I believe castor oil does, because people will say, oh, castor oil helps your detox. It doesn't help your detox. Where in the world does fat help detox? It doesn't help you detox at all unless you take so much of it that you get diarrhea and you're crapping out something. I mean, that would be kind of like a sledgehammer approach to making yourself, mineral deficient and trying to detox at the same time. This is why the diarrhea approaches to detox don't work. And if you've ever taken these herbal garbage detoxes that just make you crap your brains out, you don't get any better. Like, it doesn't work. So my theory on castor oil, why do people feel better? Why can they do castor oil packs on certain areas of their body? And they seem to help. Why can they do castor oil packs on their liver? And they seem to help. Am I advocating these? Not necessarily. You can do them if they help your symptoms, but you need to understand what I believe they're doing. They are putting ricinoleic acid into your system, and that is binding to toxins, and it is going to your liver. That's where your liver stores these things. Castor oil is something like 85% ricinoleic acid. It's a very unique fatty acid that you don't come across in foods. So what I believe that means is that there may be slots in your liver that ricinoleic acid can fit into, that all the other fatty acids that you come across on a daily basis don't fit into. So it can kind of shove more toxins into places that toxins couldn't fit before. You have a special key to get them in. Okay? These results suggest that bile acids and fatty acids increase colonic absorption of oxalate. What do we do on this program? Well, we generally don't add fats to our food, except if you're an undertype and you've read the undertype article. We talk about potentially you might need some more than usual, but those of you who are normal weight or overweight, the general idea is don't add extra fats to your food. So what, I don't know, does the oxalate group talk about minimizing added fats? Because boy, that increases colonic absorption of oxalate. Also increases the colonic absorption of vitamin A. Bile salts increase the absorption of oxalate. Well, what do we use to help absorb bile? Well, we do things like soluble fiber and charcoal. So anyway, yeah, there we go. Well, let me get this link. Did I put the link in? I don't remember. I'll do it again. Okay. So let me see that. There was another super chat I missed. Let me find it. There it is. Jason Frederick Argale, you didn't have to do it twice, but thank you for the second super chat, because I see a bunch of people always miss out putting in the question with the super chat. Okay. Best advice for fungal rashes on the skin. Thank you for the super chat, Jason. I appreciate that. Well, just to go over a little basics on fungus in general. It's when you think of stuff coming out of your skin, I would think of it in terms of, like we always do here, toxicities and deficiencies. That is the way we think of it. So what are your body's pushing something toxic out through your skin. But then the fungus that is on top of or in your skin is thriving on and is able to continue to stay there. So if we can remove the toxicities and we can correct the deficiencies, the fungus goes away. Now, I've talked about my fungal issues. I had fungal issues as a child, as a teen, even actually even into my 20-somethings. So things you can do on the top of your skin, things that I might do if I had fungal issues and I wanted to help address them. One thing I might do is what I call charcoal plus lotion. You can suck the toxic stuff out of the area. Now, you got to remember, it's a systemic problem. It's just, think of it as where these things manifest on your skin. Like, why does it pick one place? It's just a weak link in your chain. So someplace in your skin is a weak link to whatever the combination is that tends to cause these patterns. So charcoal and lotion, or a charcoal poultice. You can look up charcoal poultices. Charcoal poultices are pretty easy. It's basically, we don't use flaxseed here. Everybody else likes to talk about flaxseed. What we do is we do equal parts charcoal and organic psyllium fiber. Mix them with enough water to make kind of like a mask kind of consistency, and put that on. Leave it on at least 20 minutes. If you want to leave it on longer, or you want to go out and do life while you're wearing it, then you're going to have to like wrap it in like saran wrap or some kind of plastic wrap to keep it on and keep it from falling off or leaking, sweating, whatever you want to call it. The other thing is charcoal and lotion, which I think is much cleaner and much more practical. This is about, the recipe is about a teaspoon of lotion, whatever lotion you like. There is no optimal lotion, folks. Well, until my magnesium lotion comes out, then there is an optimal lotion. Then there will be an optimal lotion. It is going to happen. So you can do a teaspoon of lotion and about a half teaspoon to 3/4 of a teaspoon of charcoal. Mash them together, put them on the area. Let that sit on at least 20 minutes. If you want to leave it on longer, you can. If you want to wash it off after 20 minutes and redo it, you can. You can do the charcoal and lotion on painful areas. Make sure when you put it on, when you smear it on, it's at least still black. Don't smear it on so thin that it's gray. Okay. So that's, and then the other thing that you could try, Grant Genereux talked about this, I think, in his book. You can get you don't need to buy the stuff from Canada. You can just go to like a drugstore and find diaper cream. It's usually like 3 or 4 ingredients, but the big ingredient in it is zinc oxide. And you can put that on. It is white. Zinc oxide is going to stay white. It's like that. It's like the sunscreen that you see the lifeguards putting on their nose and under their eyes and whatever. It's the white stuff. It's going to be white, just like charcoal is going to be black. So either one of those. The zinc oxide you don't absorb real well, but you are absorbing it into the skin in that area. So those things can help with the toxicity. Of course, we're going to say reduce the vitamin A in your diet, reduce or minimize the vitamin A in your diet. Definitely see what you can do about high copper foods in your diet, like chocolate's a huge one for people. And then start trying to figure out some forms of soluble fiber that you do well on, that don't cause you to detox or dump bile too hard. And then when we talk about nutrients, okay, so what do I call the antifungal minerals? Zinc, selenium, molybdenum. These are the 3 biggest ones that I look at in the combination of hair testing and lab and blood testing that I do. Those are what I call the 3 big minerals. Just so happens they're all antifungal. So to know how they're antifungal, right? What is in Head and Shoulders and Selsun Blue? Well, Head and Shoulders is zinc. Selsun Blue is selenium. How do we know those are antifungal? Well, they put them in topical approaches. So they're trying to tell you, this is one of the very first, like, this is like early nutrition detective stuff when I had tinea versicolor on my chest and my elbows, and they told me to put Selsun Blue on it and just let it sit for like a half hour and then just go wash it off. I looked at the active ingredient, it was selenium, and I said, why am I applying selenium on my skin? Doesn't your skin come from the bottom, the inside out? Don't you have layers of skin that go from the inside out? So if the skin is getting to the top and it's selenium deficient, aren't I just selenium deficient? So why don't I just put selenium on the inside? Because if you're deficient in one area, you're probably deficient everywhere. It's just you see the weak link in the chain show up with the problem. The weak link breaks first. So back then I started taking selenium. I took higher doses than I'm going to talk about here because it was me and I'm an experimenter and I take responsibility for my actions. So I did that. And yeah, after a couple months, the tinea versicolor was gone. So selenium was my lucky, I hit that one dead on. That was a lucky guess. Back then I didn't know how to dose zinc. Selenium was easy. So anyway, zinc is antifungal. Selenium is antifungal. Molybdenum is antifungal. Molybdenum is very antifungal, but you don't want to overdose on it, which can happen. You can overdose on anything, right? You can drink water until you die. So people, things that are essential, like essential minerals, there's a very big difference when people say, well, what am I trying to think of? If something is essential, you can overdose on it. Yes. But if something is essential, and then if you take too much of it, it's toxic, it's probably a toxin to begin with. If it's not essential and it has toxicity once you get to too high a dose, first of all, you don't need it. And then it's toxic. So you better beware. Oh, wait, isn't that what we've proven with vitamin A? We don't need it and it's toxic. Okay, let's not do that. So those would be the things. So you can, with, let's say that the diaper rash cream, you could work with that. That's going to put some zinc in there. But selenium, yeah, you could do Selsun Blue and just put it on there. You could, I don't know about other topical applications of selenium. I don't explore them that much. I tend to do internal approaches. If you wanted to, Keystone Minerals, we do sell a product which has kind of the foundational dose of zinc and selenium and molybdenum, kind of a base dose. one pill a day that works for a lot of people. Some people can't take it because they're too sensitive. They're just still too toxic to take it, basically, or they might be too small a person to take it. It could just be too much for them. They may not get along with one of the types of minerals. This all happens. I'm here willing to admit it. I don't BS people and tell people that every single one of my supplements is suitable for every single person. No, you should see. If you haven't seen the lactoferrin instructions I give people about how to go slow and figure out your dose, and maybe you can't take it yet, well, you should go read them. It's on the bottle of lactoferrin. It's on the lactoferrin page link there. Not everything works for everybody at the same time. So I see a Ramon super chat, but that's what I would. So Jason, we don't kind of do we don't do approaches where we just treat fungus. We treat the whole system. That's why we would do like zinc and molybdenum and selenium internally, and then it will manifest in the skin, that like the skin fungus getting better because we kind of kill it from the inside out. Remember that all these things that are growing on you or in you, whether it's fungus or parasites or bacteria, they don't grow if your system is, if you get rid of the toxicity and you correct the deficiencies, these things don't grow, right? Like all of us have candida inside of us. But why does everybody not have a problem? Toxicities and deficiencies. That's why. So once you understand that, then you can kind of, so I would say get in the Love Your Liver program and start working on that stuff. And then if you want to test, we can do that. Okay, so Ramon's question. What do you think of macadamia nuts? Well, they're expensive and they're really full of fat. Those are two true things. How essential are omega-9 fatty acids? I don't even think about them. Is omega-3 the preferred route humans should always take? Eat properly fed animal foods, and your fat needs are taken care of. And then he said, thanks to the best doc. Okay, you're welcome. So omega-3s is a total psyop. Essential fatty acids. We can make EPA and DHA in our body. But imagine, let's say toxicity got in the way of those enzymes that make the essential fatty acids. Ooh, then we'd have a problem, wouldn't we? So we don't have people having fatty acid deficiencies. Grant didn't get any sort of fatty acid deficiency. Part of the whole psyop has been this like fat lipidophilia or fatophilia, like the love of fat. Does fat taste good? Yeah. Does it have a nice mouthfeel? Yes. Probably because we're wired to live in a sort of pseudo starvation mindset all the time. We are wired to be worried about starvation all the time. So what do we do if you come across a big dose of fat? It's calories. You eat it. You want more. But when you think of, like, as I've talked about before, like wild game and stuff, there's hardly any fat on it. And I'm not going to argue with people who are like talking about the fatty animals of up on the Arctic Circle, because that's just not practical. So, so nuts, well, speaking of oxalates today, nuts are often quite high in oxalates as a general rule. So that's not going to be a great thing. I do want you guys to know, there's been people bringing up copper and soluble fiber on Twitter and stuff like that. I don't see, plenty of people have come back to me and told me that they have copper problems with nuts and seeds. Generally, people aren't coming to me saying they're having copper problems from the high soluble fiber foods. Things like beans, oats, barley, and apples. Why is this? Well, I posted a paper. Let me I could go find it. Let me go find my tweet. You don't need to switch over to it yet, Joe. Okay, now you can switch, Joe. So let me make that bigger. So soluble fiber is a type of pectin. So this is a quote from this paper, which I just linked. Soluble fiber, pectin, binds toxic metal, copper. This is my ad right here. Then we quote it. The purpose of the study is experimental substantiation of the ability to use beet pectin, BP, to bind toxic metal ions, as in copper 2. I just want you to pay attention to two things here, right? So they're talking about specifically about pectin, beet pectin. This is isolated. This is not eating beets. This is like apple pectin that you could buy in capsules. They're just saying where it came from. The researchers specifically called copper 2 a toxic metal. They know what's up. So continuing down from the study, high efficiency of beet pectin binding to toxic metal ions define the advantages of beet pectin as an antidote to toxic metal ions like copper specifically. So what nuts are not very high in soluble fiber? They do. All foods that have fiber have some amount of insoluble fiber and some amount of soluble fiber in them. So they all, it's just like when you see things, natural fats, they all have polyunsaturated fats in them. Go look at coconut oil. There's still some polyunsaturated fats in it. People say it's a saturated fat because what they do is they generalize and they say whatever the main fat is in it, we're going to say it's that. So in olive oil, they're going to say it's monounsaturated, but it still has PUFAs in it and it still has saturated fats in it too. So with fibers, there's always some soluble and there's always some insoluble when we're talking about natural sources. Okay. High soluble fiber foods in general don't cause copper problems because the soluble fiber binds to the copper. Okay. If you don't tolerate soluble fiber well, it's probably not a copper problem. It's probably a gut dysbiosis problem, making toxic secondary bile acids that you're then reabsorbing. And we need to fix the toxic bile, which then fix your gut biome before maybe you start adding soluble fiber. So just, again, I'm going to remind everybody here, if you're experimenting with soluble fiber or types of different foods, like some people tolerate beans amazingly. Some people tell me having them eat beans was the best thing anybody ever did for them. And some people are like, I don't tolerate beans at all, doc. Okay. Both of those are okay. Some people are like, I don't tolerate any soluble fiber yet. One guy on the network was saying he was having big neurological reactions whenever he would eat anything with fiber in it. I said, don't eat it then. Not yet. Maybe in the future, but not yet. We have some other people on the program who are like going crazy fiber maxing, like Will, who might be up around 50 or 60 grams of fiber a day. This approach, this is why this is not a protocol. People still use that word about it. But we don't do protocols because some people, just with soluble fiber, you can see some people tolerate tons of soluble fiber and some people don't. Some people tolerate and need lots of zinc, and some people don't tolerate hardly any zinc or no zinc at all, supplement-wise. It's okay. The way we do it here, we use this big old brain here to say that different situations so we have different bodies, we have individual variation in body types and body needs, and we have different states of toxicity, and we have different states of deficiencies. And by looking at all of this and not taking the lowest common denominator, well, we're just going to say the same thing works for everybody. That's not what we do here. We use our brain. We don't do protocols. One person might not do well with any fiber, and one person might feel the more soluble fiber they eat, they feel better and better. Those fiber studies where they used to like use fiber for bowel habits and all that stuff. I've been learning this about another area of nutrition research too, about where they leave out the people, like with a lot of the ivermectin research, they leave out 90% of the people who they've deemed ivermectin sensitive. So they would have bad reactions to ivermectin. So they leave them out of the study. And then they just have that 10% of people who are okay with ivermectin. And then they come out with the studies and everybody goes, ivermectin is as safe as water. And then you go, well, That doesn't make any sense. So they do the same thing with the fiber studies in the past. They would have people who knew that they didn't get along with a lot of fiber, or they tried a lot of fiber, and they immediately kicked them out of the study. They took out the people who didn't do well with fiber, and they kept the people who did well with fiber, and then they came out with fiber's amazing. Everybody should get more fiber. They did this with blood pressure. 10% of the population had blood pressure problems in the US. 10% of that 10% could watch their blood pressure move up and down with their sodium intake. So 10% of 10% is 1%. So off of 1% of Americans reacting, their blood pressure, if they ate too much sodium, their blood pressure would go up. They were called sodium responders. They told everybody that they should eat less sodium. And then later on, they said, oh, oops, we actually caused you problems because we told everybody to eat too little sodium, because we treated everybody like the one group. That's not good medicine. That's not what we do here. We adapt to each person. What people do need to do as part of this is they do need to experiment and try things and see how they feel so they can know. So that's that. Did any more sneak in? Nope. Okay, so let me look up here. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. This thing always jumps. But yeah, Ramon, I mean, macadamia nuts, generally, here's the way I think of nuts. On occasion. If you're surviving on nuts every day, no, don't. That's not. Eating tons of nuts is not the way out of this. It's not the worst thing you could do. They are generally low in vitamin A, but there's a lot of fat. The fiber doesn't seem to work as well in terms of soaking stuff up. Could potentially oxalate problems. There's definitely copper. There's a lot of copper in it that quite a few people say that they can't eat nuts and seeds because of copper. That I do see often. So, like I said, omega-9s, I don't even think about it. Like, we don't eat good animal protein. That's it. And then eat some plant foods. If you're all muscle meat carnivore, that does work, but there's issues with it long term. So if you are an all muscle meat carnivore with no soluble fiber, that will cause issues long term. That's what I know. It is a low vitamin A and a low copper diet, but it will screw up your gut biome eventually. You will run out of bifido. You will completely decimate your bifido populations. Bifido is pretty important in another part that we're researching right now, that I'm learning about, that we're tweaking. So of the big new development, but it's not to just go take more bifido, everybody. I'm not going to start talking about it here yet, because it's just too, it will only be in the Love Your Liver program, because people mess up. Murphy's Law says that people are going to they're going to take a little good information and mess themselves up with it. So we're not going to do that. But is omega-3 the preferred route humans should always take? Well, you should know better than throwing an always word at me. Absolutes get you in trouble. No, just get your fats from foods. That's it. The fresher, the better. So that's what we got. What is going on here? Hold on. Let me get this back. Okay. So did I see another one? Will's posting an E. Thanks for the super chat, Will, and the E. Ramon asks, while there is some nutrition in beans and plenty in meat, there is almost nothing in rice. Has Grant explained why he eats rice? Again, thanks. You are welcome, Ramon. Thank you for the super chat, both to you and Will. Okay, Grant made his diet, as I understand it, from what he told me and what I've read of his stuff. He was just looking to make the lowest vitamin A diet he possibly could from foods that he liked and he thought would cover his nutritional bases. I mean, he's an engineer by trades. He's not a nutritionist, which, I mean, how many nutritionists out there are screwing themselves up because they're trying to, like, as Will would say, vitamin max or whatever. They're trying to with the two X's, vitamin max. It's more important in today's day and age for people who are eating, a decent, they've got some animal protein in their diet and they're getting other decent sources of food. It's more important to eat less poison and toxins than it is to worry about the maximum nutrition in things. If you had to pick one, less toxins in. That's more important. Everybody's, who benefits from obsessing over more and more nutrients in? Well, the supplement industry does. And who makes all the raw materials for supplements when we're talking about vitamins and that kind of stuff? It's the pharmaceutical industry. The pharmaceutical industry is behind the synthetic vitamin industry. So the pharma industry can play you both ways. They can both feed you the poisons that they make, and then they can feed you the vitamins that you think are going to help you. Like all these garbage protein shakes that are just full of vitamins and stuff, or they have 60 or 80 different ingredients. They're all like super high polyphenol and super high vitamin A and super high just and they make people, let's give people a bunch of B6 and aldehyde and tell them it's a vitamin. Okay. So why does Grant eat rice? He just wanted something that gave him, calories and filled him up. And he seems to have no problem with making it like 3 times a day, or maybe he makes it once a day and then he just divides it up among his little bowls of, he makes a soup, he says, typically out of the beef or bison and beans and rice, and he just adds hot water to it. So I think he makes it like once a day, and then he just mixes it up and adds hot water to it as his soup. So it sounds a little bit like prison food, but whatever. It works. It's working. Can't knock it if it works. Rice, I don't like. I personally, rice doesn't agree with me that much, and rice does seem like kind of, there are people out there who can only eat rice. There's people out there who can only do rice and beef or red meat. The funny coincidence is that several of the people, I forget his name on Grant's forum, but the one gentleman, adult gentleman, and then the child of the father, who they both got off insulin and they were type 1 diabetics, they claimed. They both did a beef, basically a red meat and white rice diet. Now, the adult does think that he may have caused himself some problems, either with B1 deficiency or arsenic. I don't know if anything ever came of that. But arsenic is very real in rice. For those of you who are eating rice like often and you're not taking precautions about arsenic, you're going to cause yourself a problem. There is rice sucks the arsenic out of the soil it was grown in. That's what it does. Like selenium trees suck selenium out of the soil and put it in the nuts. The tea plant, Camellia sinensis, sucks fluoride out of the soil and puts it in its leaves, and then we make tea out of it. There's always going to be a lot of fluoride in tea. Okay, certain plants can clean the soil of these things. So rice cleans the soil of arsenic. And puts it in the rice. So it is the way, for those of you who haven't heard me talk about this, if you can soak rice either overnight in the fridge, or you can even soak it for like half an hour before you cook it, but you want to add some charcoal to that water, like a half teaspoon, a teaspoon. Put some charcoal in the soaking water. Charcoal has been used to clean wastewater of arsenic. When you soak rice, the arsenic moves into the water. And then you have the charcoal there to soak it up. So maybe give the rice a stir when you put in the charcoal, and then give the rice another stir before you're going to rinse it. And then you just rinse off the rice in a strainer, and all the charcoal rinses off the rice, and then you can just cook it normal. If you guys have been doing other stuff, the parboiling and the extra water cooking and all that stuff, if you do the charcoal soak, I would do it at least a half hour before you cook it. If that's the minimum. And then, yeah, that's it. But rice is kind of, I think of rice. If you're one of those people who like you only tolerate rice right now, one of the reasons you tolerate rice is because rice has very little other stuff in it. It's just like mostly starch. If we're talking about white rice, it's mostly just starch. So there's not a lot to it, not a lot of flavor, not a lot of other stuff. So it's not my grain of choice. I've actually been, funny thing, I know I've said on this podcast a bunch that I don't get along with other grains. I've started incorporating oats more lately, the overnight oats type. And again, oats, if you have rolled oats or Coach's oats, you only need to soak them like 20 minutes to a half hour to get them fully rehydrated. You just put some cold water in them. I do equal amounts. I do a cup of Coach's oats to a cup of water. Actually, yeah, I measure the cup of water in this 8 ounces, and then I add a cup of oats to it. And then I put it in the fridge for like half an hour and it's ready to go. I've been making savory oats. I've been cooking my oats with, I soak the oats, I mix them with some chicken or some ground beef, and then I add some salt and heat it up, and that's really good. Savory oats, if you have not tried savory oats yet, you should. I don't like hot cooked oats with like boiling water and stuff. I think it frees up a bunch of the lutein, and then you eat more you absorb more vitamin A from it than you need to. Could even be copper, who knows? But eating oats that are soaked and then I warm them up in the toaster oven, but I'm not like full on cooking them. You know what I mean? So anyway. Okay. John Smith, let me find yours. Wait, where's that super chat? Did I miss one? Oh, John asks, isn't boron super antifungal? Yes. So is iodine. I don't want people taking high doses of either of these things. Here, let's do this. Let me just go look. Joe, we could show this. Why do we not do boron? There is a discussion concerning categorization of inorganic boron compounds as reproductive toxins. Boron treatment of rats, mice, and dogs was dose-dependently associated with testicular toxicity, characterized by inhibited spermiation and lower dose levels and by reduction of epididymal sperm counts at higher dose levels. Boron accumulates in the system, just like copper does. They say here that they don't find it to be, they say here basically concentrations of boron within the body that exert reproductive toxicity in humans. Oh, wait, there are concentrations of boron that cause reproductive toxicity in humans are not reached under the conditions of human normal handling and use. Well, that wouldn't probably be supplementation, would it? That's not normal. So what I'm saying, we don't use boron. Boron is not an essential nutrient. It is not. And then when you look at, let's see, the one study that everybody likes to talk about, where it was like 10 milligrams of boron, I think. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was in Iraq or Iran. I'm not going to look for it. Anyway, there was like a 10-day study where they gave boron to men. Like, I think it was like 12 men. After 10 days, they were like, ooh, their testosterone went up so much. And it's like, I want you to understand something here. What did it do? Well, here's an idea about how things can drastically increase hormone concentrations in the blood short term. and cause so get this, like long-term too much boron, they were saying it causes testicular toxicity. Short-term high dose, they saw more testosterone in the blood. Well, where would the testosterone in the body be stored in a man? In the testicles, right? So if, let's say, boron was being taken at high dose and it was going down to your testicles and destroying the testicular cells that held the testosterone, and you start leaking testosterone into your system, would you not see your testosterone go up short term? Yes. Would that destroy your testicles long term? Yes. They just said here, mice, rats, and dogs. Why do we not think the same in people? People out there oh my gosh, I had a guy doing the borax thing. He comes in with his hair test, his boron is off the charts. Like, I was like, he's like, I'm just doing a pinch of it. Like, that borax thing is the most irresponsible, dangerous thing you could do. People trying to measure it with like pinches, and then they're not reading that they're strong medicine has strong effects for better or worse. So if you're going to mess with minerals, you better be getting it right. Boron tastes like soap. I doesn't taste good. Actually, it kind of tastes like rotten fish. I did the boron thing for a while. No, we don't do it. It's testicular toxin, which probably means it's an ovarian toxin for the ladies too. All the people who are like, it's like the same people who say boron's not toxic are the same people nowadays who are saying ivermectin is safe as water. They were led astray. They always just throw out these testicular toxicities. They're like, oh, that's too high a dose. And I'm like, but you accumulate it. Let's see what we can find on boron accumulate. I found it before. I may not find it real quick here. Boron, well, see, here's boron accumulating in a plant. Boron accumulation in brain tumor cells. Why would it be accumulating in brain tumor cells when I tell people that cancer is basically a toxin accumulating sac? Cancer is tissue your body makes to store toxins. Anyway, boron does accumulate. Wait, let me just see if it accumulates in the testicles. Well, here they say it didn't. Oh, wait, but then hold on. Let me go read that a little more. Oh, that's from the whole paper. They do this weird thing where it's from the whole paper, but they don't give you the whole paper. You can, when you do this is just so you guys know, if you're ever, since you guys probably like to search like I do, when you see these on the search engines, this line right here is from the whole paper. And so the search can go into the whole paper, but they don't show you the whole paper when you go to the actual link. So, wait, didn't they just say it was, yeah, so they're saying here, so short term, how long was this paper? They don't say how long. I'm not going to go find the whole paper. It's probably a short term. Here we go. 60 days, 2 months. But yeah, you got dogs and mice and rats. We're not messing with boron. You can mess with boron if you want. We're not messing with boron. When you start seeing stuff like this, I'm not, nope. So, but that's, you got to understand that mechanism of how that we call this the duration paradox, where something can look good short term and absolutely destroy the tissue long term. And as you saw in the testicular example, it could be looking good short term precisely because it's destroying the very tissue long term. Like, this is how hyperthyroid happens. The body is actually destroying the thyroid cells. They're spilling out thyroid hormone, and people get hyperthyroid symptoms. So what do the doctors do? They go in and destroy the rest of the thyroid, right? Now, anybody who's had hyperthyroid long enough, it eventually turns into hypothyroid because you've destroyed enough of the thyroid that it's gone and it's not there to make anymore. There's nothing, you can't destroy more. It's been destroyed enough, the cells that are important to that. So do you see how this is the same mechanism? This is the thing the meatheads and the lifting guys will just ignore. Ignore how short-term study, like with boron. And everybody wonders why everybody's on testosterone replacement therapy these days. If you didn't watch the live stream today, I went over the study showing that exposure to vitamin A at the newborn level and also in the adolescence of mice, they were showing it permanently damaged their testosterone production. And when you look at Accutane and the sexual side effects of it in 12 to 17-year-olds, it's destroying people. It's destroying men especially. Like, how best could they get men these days? How could they trap men? This boosts your testosterone, right? Short term, it boosts it, but long term, it destroys it. We're just not going to tell you that part. We're only going to focus on the short term because people today only focus on the short term. That's what they do. So, but could it be antifungal? Sure. I mean, okay. Fungus is a living creature. Like it's I mean, it's not a creature, but it's living. It's doing something. It's growing. Just because when something is toxic to something growing, you better watch out. Like but we do have to, zinc and selenium and molybdenum are essential. Boron is not. If boron has long-term chronic toxicity, we don't really want to mess with it. So, but could it be antifungal? Sure. Azoles, the azole medications, ketoconazole. Let's go over that. So let's just go over something that's antifungal that destroys testosterone. Ketoconazole. I was talking about this today with somebody else. Ketoconazole blocks testosterone synthesis. This is probably the medication that got me into medicine. It was because I could never figure out why I couldn't train as hard as my buddies did. Why after every 4 weeks of hard training, I get sick. Why couldn't I do what the other guys did? Why did I seem to not recover well as a teenager? Well, I took this as a teenager for athlete's foot, tinea versicolor. I had the topical stuff. I had the pill stuff. Oh, you need the boron link? Okay, let me get the boron links. Sorry, let me get the boron links for everybody. But remember, they want us fertile, so they'll get the guys with these short-term testosterone boosters. So as an example of something that could completely destroy testosterone production, but is antifungal, well, we have ketoconazole. Ketoconazole inhibits testosterone biosynthesis in men. Ketoconazole blocks testosterone synthesis. High-dose ketoconazole therapy on adrenal and testicular function, I'm sure, is the rest of that one. Steroid synthesis inhibition by ketoconazole. They still sell this. They still sell it. I mean, look at this. I was not warned about this. I think even as a teenager, I would have been like, this messes with my testosterone. I would think I was probably smart enough as a teenager to go, I don't want to do this. They are destroying people. So, let's see. Anybody else sneak in with a super chat? Let's see. But yeah, Jason, that kind of relates to your question earlier about antifungal stuff. Fungus grows like think of fungus kind of like mold in the body. Okay. It grows where things are stagnant and toxic, where they're not, you got too much toxicity there and things aren't moving very well. One of the things that would slow down blood flow in areas would be calcification. That's one of the things we work on, calcification. When you think of, when they talk about heart disease and they talk about blood vessels shrinking, what have they sold you on? Well, it's cholesterol. Well, cholesterol is mostly a waste product from your liver. But they don't talk about calcium. When they scan your coronary arteries to see how much blockage you have, do you know what that's called? It's called a coronary calcium score. Coronary calcium score. They don't call it coronary cholesterol score. They call it coronary calcium score. So if you were to have stagnation in an area, like, you know, like the areas in a creek or a river where there's the river, the water doesn't flow, it just sits there and it gets stagnant and, you know, algae grows in it. Algae, basically similar to what we're talking about here. So we don't eat fungus generally. We don't want fungus on us. Fungus is a sign of stagnation. We don't want it. So what do? We get less toxic. We give the body what it needs to do what it's supposed to do. Okay. Let's see. Nobody else snuck in. Oh, wait, there. Ramon. Ramon says, I see an Instant Pot cookbook behind you. Can Dr. Smith enlighten us with what he cooks in an Instant Pot or how he uses one? Thank you. Well, I use it the same way everybody else does, just like I put my pants on one leg at a time, right? The thing I'm making lately in it, and I do this for it's food prep for several people in the family. I do make organic chicken breasts in it. I just cook them in the Instant Pot, nothing on them, and then we mix them with whatever else. So it's basically like shredded chicken. By the time I cut it, it's just falling apart. So that really helps to have around some protein. I find I personally don't like to eat red meat 3 times or 2 or 3 times a day. It's just something about my body. And I have other people who say they don't like to do too much red meat for certain people. It just doesn't feel great. Some people do it 3 times a day. Some people don't. So I make that chicken because I do like to have poultry in the rotation. So that's the main thing I'm making these days. I'll make things around. When we make mashed potatoes, I will cook them in there. Haven't been having those much lately. But yeah, very well peeled potatoes. We will make mashed potatoes in there. Trying to think of what else. Sometimes around the holidays, I'll make a roast in there or like a stew. We're all done with turkey and stuff like Thanksgiving. We only do beef at the big holidays. We're done with turkey's such a pain in the butt. That's why people only make it like once or twice a year. It's such a pain in the butt. So what else I'm trying to think of what else. We pretty much we're doing like 35 minutes of what is it? High pressure. It's the same setting for almost everything. It works. But yeah, that's about the cookbooks there. It doesn't, I have all sorts of cookbooks. Doesn't mean I look at them until I get a feel for it. And then I look at them if I need it. But I'm part of the internet generation now where even if you have a book sitting on a shelf, I'll tend to just go right on the internet. But yeah, making soup on it. I used to make, oh my gosh, I used to make a beef and barley and bean soup in it. Where we have some dry beans. We had, the barley. I cooked the ground beef beforehand. Probably now, I'd cook the ground beef beforehand so I can drain the excess fat out of it. And we used to make a really good soup in there. I need to do that. I haven't done that in a while. I need to get more Pyrex dishes for food storage. That's what I need to do. So anyway, you're welcome, Matej. I hope I said your name decently. So yeah, my kitchen, the things I use in my kitchen would be, in terms of cooking, there's obviously the stove, there's a toaster oven, there's the regular oven, and then there's the Instant Pot. Like those are basically, I did get one of those glass, it's like a glass kettle for just heating water. Like that's all you heat in it. I do like having that now. Oh yeah, you can cook beans in the Instant Pot. Yeah, so everybody will just add to the chat of all the things that they cook. We do have a recipes section on the network for those of you who have joined, or if you don't know about it. I think you can do hashtag recipes. We'll start you on there is that hashtag you can search in the network for those of you who don't know. Yeah. But I do want to get back to making. I've been making seriously the oats and the chicken and some salt and that stuff, or ground beef and the oats has been just like, I'm all over that. I had never had savory oats until last week. And I'm telling my kids about it. My kids are like, salty oats? And I'm like, it's amazing. I said, I explained it to them. I said, you eat every other grain savory, right? Oh, okay, there it is, Hope. Yeah, Hope thinks it's vitamin A detox recipes. So every other recipe, every other grain we eat savory, just about. Why not oats? Why are we stuck on this breakfast? It has to be like brown sugar and all this other sugary garbage in it. And somebody on the network had said before, they said, if you have not tried savory oats yet, you need to. They are amazing. And I finally did. Yeah, they're good. So, let's see. Laura says she's been eating her oats with salt for over 2 years now. Laura, maybe you had posted about it. Maybe I saw your post and I'm still remembering it. And I was that I was that bad on getting around to it. So, well, I had kind of stopped eating most grains in general because they just weren't agreeing with me. So I'm trying them again. See, this is what you can do, folks. As you get better and better, you will tolerate foods that you didn't used to tolerate. But you will never know unless you try them again, which is what I'm doing. Amazing, practicing what I preach. Crazy, right? So, let me see if there was anything else. I got like 3 minutes left. Oh, episode 71. Okay, yeah. So yeah, for those who don't know, episode 71, for those of you who want a background on toxic bile theory, if you're new to this work, if you want the video that people have told me is the best kind of summary of toxic bile theory and that stuff, go to episode 71. That is kind of where I go over the basics of storing toxins, like with cancer and other things. We make toxin storage, overtypes make toxin storage in the body. Actually, I just learned that. So one of the patterns I had noticed was that schizophrenics, I asked paramedic friends of mine, I asked medical friends of mine, I said, I didn't know this. So I said, is there a pattern that you guys have seen where schizophrenics, psychotics tend to be underweight? And they said, oh yeah, definitely. I was like, okay. And then I started looking into some of Abram Hoffer's old work. And he was saying that the one thing he didn't see, he almost never saw cancer in schizophrenics. Which, for those of you who haven't read the over and under types in the network, this is what we're talking about. But undertypes tend to be underweight. So they're not good at making fat storage or other storage. So they tend to leak their bile into the bloodstream. It goes to the brain and then causes them to get loopy. So it all started to make sense that schizophrenics were skinny and schizophrenics didn't tend to get cancer. So we're creating a whole new framework of medicine here that makes sense. It's pretty fun. So yeah. And we're on the cusp of a big development right now. So it's pretty cool. Oh, Laura's saying you're an example. Can't believe the difference in your appearance from years ago. It's great. We're all on this journey together. Yes, it is. Yeah. I look back. I do think there's probably already some changes in my appearance. I swear, like when I was trimming my beard this morning and cutting my hair, like there was more hair on the floor. What we're doing right now is like the next. It's something that it's the next stage of this whole development. It will accelerate things, and if people don't push it too hard, they will do very well. I'm working on behind the scenes with Kelsey on all of this information, and it's going to be very exciting when it comes out. Yes, Kelsey Kenny. I don't know if she's in the chat today. I didn't see her much. If you're there, Kelsey, say hi. So I think we're about done. As Brian Bray said, meatloaf is effectively savory oats. That's right. It's just not much. I mean, well, I guess it depends on how many oats you put in it. So let me see if there was anything else that catches my eye on the way. Oh, okay, Cyril, this will be a tip. Okay, so Zendog Breath asks, this is just a really good one. This is for everybody. How do we get the whole paper when they Google us like that? Nice question. So, okay, so let me find a study that we could do. So where was the one that we were talking about? Was it boron? Let me see. Was it boron accumulation? Where was the one we couldn't find? It was one of these, like. Yeah, it was this one. Okay, so let's do this one. I don't want to do this one. I don't like that one. That's a short-term one. Anyway, let's just find it. Let's just do this one. Testicular-borne factors affect sperm fertility. Sorry. So this is the website I use, scihub.st. Go to this website, and then you can either enter the title. So you enter the reference right there. Hit open. Ta-da! We have the whole paper, the whole article. Now, the other thing you can do is if we go back to the same paper, if you want to be a little more specific, if the search engine's having trouble with the whole title, get the PubMed ID, copy just the numbers. Let's go back. Put the PubMed ID in there. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll put the link to Sci-Hub. Oh, see, that didn't work. Or wait, was it because I hit enter? Nope, that one's not working. So you can also use this DOI number. Let's see if that works. There. So let's see the DO. So when you search on PubMed, and oh my gosh, everyone, I don't know how to explain to people what PubMed is. If you are out there, I'm going to try to help you here. I had somebody say to me, they said, I don't know how to trust anything you're putting up because it's all from the NIH. And I don't know how to trust any studies done by the NIH. The NIH, okay, PubMed. Let's just go here. Let's go over this one more time. PubMed.gov. Yes, it's a government website. Here's another example. Are you not going to drive on the roads because the government built the roads? Are you going to avoid the roads because you don't trust the government? I mean, you could do that. PubMed comprises more than 36 million citations for biomedical literature from Medline, life science journals, and online books. Citations may include links to full text context from PubMed's central and publisher websites. PubMed is like an online card catalog. You remember the card? Those of you who are old enough to remember the libraries when they had card catalogs, right? You wanted to find a book, you'd go and you'd look in the card catalog, and the card catalog would give you the title of the book and where to find it, and you'd go and you could find the whole book. If you could find a book in the library, does that mean the library published the book? If you can find a book in the library, does that mean the library published the book or had anything to do with the publishing of the book? No. It's a library. They get books from all over and they just bring them in and they hold the books for you and they organize them for you so you can find them. How does anyone think, without, let's say, a centralized government organizing all these studies from all these different sources, we would ever be able to search all of these at once? I'm definitely not pro-government, okay? But PubMed is like the public medical library where you can search for these things. So like if we could find all these studies here, like, so if you go and you look here at this paper, this was in the ACS Medical Chemical Letters Journal. This one was in the Archives of Toxicology. Okay, do you see that these are all different journals? They're not NIH journals. Are you following me? Please explain this to other people on the internet who have gone so like QAnon off the edge that they can't trust anything on the internet these days. Like, is science corrupt? Yes. Is nutrition corrupt? I just posted a tweet about how corrupt nutrition is. Is most of it corrupt? Yes. Was it as corrupt 50 years ago? No. How are we going to find those studies? PubMed. Am I going to go search in each individual journal to find out what they have? No, actually, most of the individual journals, their search engines suck. That's why you see me using, when I search, I do a general internet search. I've actually found that the DuckDuckGo, when you do your search on DuckDuckGo and then you put PubMed after it, it's actually a better search engine than PubMed's. So just because you see this doesn't mean that every single study there is published by the NIH. The NIH probably doesn't fund that many studies. And they'd probably be coming to conclusions that we wouldn't be interested in the first place. Ramon's got one more question. This is the last question. Thanks for the super chat, Ramon. Boy, you're a big spender today. An animal is easier to kill, cook, and eat in comparison to picking up rice, oats, and grains on a field and then have to boil it. What say you? Thanks. Well, if we're talking about modern agriculture, it's only when you put it's Ramon says, sorry about the super chats. I feel like bugging you a little extra. That's fine. We're here. Okay. It depends. Well, an animal is easier to kill. Okay, not all animals are very easy to kill. If you start thinking that we didn't have guns, and then you start going down to bow and arrows, and you're not talking about modern bow and arrows, and then you start going down to knives, or down to smashing them in the head with rocks or sticks. The word easy starts to, in terms of your personal danger, like when people are like, well, I got guns. Well, what happens when you run out of bullets? Right? Well, I got a compound bow. What happens when that breaks and you can't replace a part on it? Like, what happens when all the stuff hits the fan and the supply chains are gone is it really that easy to kill animals? Animals who don't want to be killed. Actually, my shooting instructor likes to talk about how when we're out on the range and you're shooting at a stationary target that doesn't shoot back, it's real different than being in the real world where your target is moving and shooting back. That's why if you're going to shoot, at least you can go and shoot stationary targets. You can shoot stationary targets while you're stationary. You could shoot stationary targets while you're moving. And then you could go and shoot clays. So you shoot moving targets while you're stationary. What do I do? Well, I'm just going to say I do all three. I enter competitions where they set it up so I can move, so I can shoot while I'm moving, because nobody does that. They look at me like I'm crazy there, like I'm some, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, they look at me like I'm better than I think I am. I had one guy call me a show off, and I was like, I'm just trying to get better at killing zombies. So, yeah, kill, cook, and eat, like processing a cow. As who said that on the bottom? Will, or no, it was who said it? Yeah, Laura said, Ramon, you can come and kill, process, and kill and process my next cow. LOL. Processing animals, like big animals, is a pain. Like, I mean, most hunters, right? Even if you're out there and you're a deer hunter, like you kill the deer, maybe you gut it, you clean it, hang it up, whatever. But then what do most deer hunters do? They take it to a butcher to do it because it's a pain in the ass. Prepping animals is a pain. Is it worth it? Yeah. That's why people started doing it. Smaller the animal, the easier the prep, right? The bigger the animal, the thicker the fascia, bigger the bones, tougher the joints, right? Anyway, but picking up rice, oats, and grains on a field, that's dependent upon modern agriculture and like rows and rows of a grain. But why do humans thrive in all parts of the world? Because we can eat it all. We probably have like the widest diet of most things on this planet. And then we also have this. Hopefully we're using it now to tell us what not to eat, because we're eating a bunch of the wrong things these days. We've kind of ignored our taste buds telling us this is bitter, this is sour, we shouldn't eat these things. They don't taste good. We've ignored that. Now we've got people trying to say that like bourbon and whiskey taste good. That is the most diluted thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, how delusional does somebody have to be to convince themselves? How many times do they have to drink it to convince themselves that like bourbon or whiskey tastes good? You know why bourbon and whiskey are yellow? It's because it's got tons of polyphenols in it. It's in the literature. So they're even more toxic. You're drinking alcohol with polyphenols in it. And then people are arguing over which one is better. I'm like, serious. So, but what we would do, here was I remember, I can't remember what, was it the Hadza or something? They were talking about the priority that they would do to get food in terms of hunting and gathering and stuff like that. And they would say they would start in the center from wherever, like, let's say their village was, right? They would start in the center and they would spiral out, going after one particular type of, let's say they were hunting animals. They would kind of try to go in this circle. So they would cover all the area around the village. And then they would go so they would pick the most calorie dense food that they could get on their first loop. Okay. They would pick the then once they had eliminated all of that, then they would go on the second most calorie dense, and they would go in the same spiral, and they would go in the third one, and they would just keep going until they ran, either the season changed and it became a new thing to go after, or they ran out of food. And then they were in real trouble. But they prioritized. So like if you had tons of animals in an area and it's easy to get them, get animals. If you have tons of, fruit and grains and roots, tubers, and all that stuff in your area, and that's the easiest to get, then get that, right? Humans can do this. We can make choices. So saying, again, you're kind of like, we don't want to get into all or nothing fallacies, or as they say, the false dilemma fallacy of it's either all meat or all grains and which one is better, and you can only choose one. We're humans. We're smart. We don't have to choose. I mean, we can choose. We can choose, but we can also pick from a bunch of things. And we can have reasons for picking it because we have this big old noggin. Not everybody's as big as mine. Mine, big old noggin, right? I look at pictures and I'm like, dang, my head's big. Will says big old heifer. Yep. Well, I got to fit it all in here. I mean, I look at my head and I go, I got a big head. And then I go, well, I try to boost myself up. I'm like, I got to fit all the brain somewhere. Yes. You know, you are your own best cheerleader or your own worst critic. You choose, right? You can tear yourself down or you can build yourself up. That's all for my TED Talk today. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed it. Yeah, let me know if any of the other, I get emails from YouTube if any of them else gets canceled. So, but you can let me know. Hopefully we won't be going against WHO endorsed health information so much that we get knocked off the channel. But only one video from the last 2 years has got knocked off. So we'll see. Anyway. Oh, what did Joe send me? Let me see before we go. Oh yeah, Joe's telling me we're members of the Big Head Club. Yes. Well, if there's big heads, there's small heads. So, you know, I know which club I'd rather be in. So, okay. So I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm going to go to the inner circle inside the network now for another couple hours, and you all have a great week. There's the possibility of the day changing for the live stream sometime in the future, maybe to Tuesdays, but we don't know yet. Other developments like the magnesium lotion, someday, wink, wink, someday it will come out. I'm just not giving any dates. We will let everybody know. And then the other exciting stuff, watch the network. I think I'm going to have an article maybe coming out this week, a new mineral article covering something that I hadn't covered in the past. And then we'll just keep making more. And if you don't follow me on Twitter yet, NutriDetect, get there, and you can find all the social media down below. Have a great day. I will see you all later.